Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome. Hope everybody's doing well. Jake Barker was going to be here, but he told me he had to put a cable and a ramp on one of the boats, so he wasn't sure if he'd make it here. So he apologizes for not being here. So I'm Roseann Keiser. I work for Miller Boat Line, and I was hired to assist Jake Market in the grant management of the breakwater for the main terminal, Phase 1. This project is going in down at the Limekiln dock. We applied for this grant 5 times and we finally got it. And we applied for this grant with Put-in-Bay Port Authority and Miller Boat Line jointly. That was a restriction with MARAD, who we got it from, and that's the PIDP, which is the Port Infrastructure Development Plan. And that was for small ports, so we didn't have to compete with the larger ports, which meant less competition. So the Put-in-Bay Port Authority and Miller Boat Line had to sign a joint agreement to satisfy MARAD and Department of Transportation to receive this grant. The parcel that the break wall is on, which is on the east side of the Limekiln dock, and it'll be further down, like the last freight building that they have, that's where it will start. So Miller Boat Line put the parcel 49% interest for Miller Boat Line, and 51% into the Port Authority. This grant was granted to us in November of '24. And the title of the grant, as I said, Breakwater for the Main Ferry Terminal, Phase 1. So there's going to be 2 phases to this breakwater. The grant funding, the total project is $11,523,414. The federal funding part, what they will pay for, is $10,371,072.60. I'm not used to saying that much money. The non-federal funding that Miller Boat Line will be paying is $1,152,341.40. Just to let you know, these are our tax dollars that we pay. It's coming back to us, and I think that is great. All of us in this room will be glad that we're going to get this jetty put in, because we understand the rough waters, the storms that we have sometimes shuts down Miller Boat Line, so that will benefit all of us. Like I said, the project is constructed for the Limekiln main ferry dock. It's going to be constructed of large armor stone, 406 feet of it. That's in the first phase. And along with that break wall, there will be a standby dock terminal with a tie down. So Miller can use that if they have to do maintenance on a boat. If there's rough seas coming in from the west, they can pull in there and unload passengers, vehicles, service trucks, whatever. I think barges should be able to come in there as well if they want to unload stone. So once all of this is complete, that's the Phase 1 and Phase 2, it should reduce the cancellations by 80%. That's pretty good. So because of the seasonal weather timing, the funding constraints, and the ability to control all the project aspects, the project was broken down into standalone projects, Phase 1 and Phase 2. I think the highest we could go for a project, I think, was 12 million. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and we were able to get it separated, which is good. There are a lot of requirements that MARAD asks of us, and we cannot do anything until they tell us what we can do. And the first thing that we started out with was called Section 106, and I'm going to just give you a briefing because it was very interesting and I think you guys would maybe enjoy hearing about it. The section 106 has to do with historical buildings, any historical artifacts. So I had to do research on if there were any historical buildings in that area, if there were shipwrecks out there. So I called Susie Cooper. I'm sure a lot of you know Susie, and she was a great help. I had to provide them with old maps of the island, so she was able to get those for me as well. And so we did that. Billy Market sent me a lot of old pictures that was taken. The construction when they were putting the drive going down, the construction of the first original dock. There was a little building there. I think they probably sold tickets in there. I had to provide all of that, and then recent, what it looks like now. We did not find any historical buildings. We were kind of concerned about the lime kiln, but that's not on the register, so that wasn't. And then the first freight barn, that was in those original pictures. And we were afraid that maybe that would be part of it, but it wasn't, so we got through that phase of it. Along with that, we had to send letters to Indian tribes. And Susie said we really didn't have any Indian tribes that settled here, although they did pass through as they were trying to get to a warmer climate through the winter. So I had to click on the state of Ohio, Ottawa County, and 13 Indian tribes came up. So with MARAD, they helped me draft a letter, and so with their approval, I sent that to the 13 tribes, and they had 30 days to get back with me. Didn't hear anything. We had 2 more days, so I had to send it back out again and extend it another 10 days. So I did get response from 4 of them, and the 4 of them said we were all clear. They didn't have an issue with it, but they said if we found any Indian artifacts or bones, please let them know. So of course we will do that. So once we got that all done, the section 106, the government at MARAD, they had to finalize that. That was done. Now we went on to EPA and NEPA, which is what we're doing right now. The boat line hired an engineering company who's working on that, who's used to processing that. That's a lot of work. But we had a meeting the other day, and the gal said there's, as far as the NEPA, there's no fish or anything that's going to be endangered, so we kind of cleared that hurdle. Although that still has to be submitted for their final approval. And this meeting here is part of the Title VI, which is discrimination, and we are required to have a public meeting, which I think is really important because that's our vital transportation there, and so you all need to know what's going on. So this won't be the only meeting. As we advance into when the construction is going to start, we'll have other meetings to let you know if there's going to be any delays or what's going on with that. Another thing we had to do just briefly, which kind of blew me away, so we do have frequent meetings with the Title VI, and they were talking about legacy infrastructures, and we all said, what are legacy infrastructures? And they said, buildings around your construction site, and a lot of the other grant recipients said, well, it's not gonna involve, well, if what you're building is for the public, and they have to access other buildings to get to that, that's your legacy existing buildings, and they have to be handicap accessible. And if they are not, then we have to come up with a plan on how we're going to upgrade them to make them handicap accessible, and when it's going to be done. And that probably all would have to be done before we can even start this. But going around, I took pictures because we have to prove that they're handicap accessible. So if you see me walking around taking pictures, I'm taking pictures of just the different infrastructure, and that is handicap accessible. So I guess if any of you have an issue with something that about being handicap accessible, let me know. We have golf carts that can take people down and put them on the boat. the Mary Ann is handicap accessible, so that helps with that as well. So once we get through the NEPA and the EPA, then we will go on to MARAD. We'll have to draft up, and I'm working on that now. They have a template, and there's a grant manager that we have through MARAD, and so I'm working with him, and once that is all complete and approved, then the Port Authority and Miller Boat Line, along with MARAD, will sign that agreement, and then we'll be able to put the project out for bid. So none of this is going to be done until probably maybe in the spring. So construction probably isn't going to start until maybe next fall. So it's a ways off. But when you're putting your hand out for the money, you do what they ask. And it is very interesting. I've enjoyed it. So I just wanted to let you know that if you know Misty Kowalski, she's one of the teachers at the school. She's the one that's been writing this grant, and every time it has failed, they do a debriefing with us, and they tell us, well, we don't want you to put that in there, but we want this in there. So through the last 5 years, I think we got it honed down to what they were looking for. I told Jake that we need to submit the second phase grant proposal this year, which it was due May 30th, but they moved it back to September because they were changing some of the restrictions that they needed in it, actually taking some of them out. So that will be going in. And I think we have a pretty good chance of getting the grant. It may not be this year, but maybe we'll have to apply the second year. But when the government gives money for a project, and they know that there's 2 phases to this, they want to see it complete. They don't want to do half a project. So I think we have a very good chance of getting the second one. So if you see Missy Kowalski, thank her for writing this grant. She put a lot of work into it. Jake Market did the budget, and then the engineers helped with the plans and everything. So it took a long time, but I think it's worth it. So does anybody have any questions?
What federal agency are you dealing with for financing?
It's MARAD. It's the Marine government part.
Who are they under?
Department of Transportation.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Anybody?
Is a jetty and a break wall the same thing?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, it is.
okay.
They have specific names that they want you to use, and so, I mean, we know it as a jetty. It's a stone wall, but it's breakwater, break wall, and it's to protect the limekiln dock there. And
Roseann,
yeah.
I'm back here.
Oh.
Two quick questions. One, I understood that when this was being proposed, that there had to be a public access component to the jetty that was being built. Is that true? Is that going to be part of the design construction?
Yeah, where the jetty is gonna go in, when I first started talking, it's down by the last freight building that they have. Very seldom do we ever have to go in there unless it's a huge piece of freight. You know how that they run the traffic all the way around on the weekends or on Sunday to get lined up to go back? It's that very last building,
Right.
and straight over there is where it will be started. So it's a pretty big open area, but they need it for those boats to be able to come in and turn around and dock. So yes, there's going to be, that there's already a dirt road right there.
My second question is, could you give me the list of the tribes that actually responded to your?
I can.
All right,
I will email those to you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
that was very interesting. None of them are located in Ohio. Most of them are in Missouri, trying to think, Oklahoma. But at one time, the tribes had been in this area, up in Canada, and then came down through the lake, stopped here, did a little hunting, and then moved on to the main part of Ohio to get to warmer weather. So that was very interesting. I'm sorry.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Okay. With the real strong winds out of the southwest, are they gonna be able to load on the east side of this jetty, or how will they do that?
So,
Because you still got the southwest winds coming in,
so
and you don't
the,
have that much protection from
so
your main dock.
if you look on this map, it'll show you where that jetty is actually gonna go, and it extends out way beyond the end of the dock. It's gonna give the ultimate, as they call it, protection for that dock. Now, if there's west winds, there may be a few times where they will have to shut down, but it's really trying to protect the dock from the east, the nor'easters that we get. So, and then they would be able to pull in, to that, standby, dock that they're gonna put in there. They could pull in there and then unload all of us, so.
Is there anything else that you wanna go over?
No, I just, when you talk about where this jetty is, you're like, okay, where's it gonna go? So I have more copies up here if you wanna take one home. But just so you can see where it's gonna go and how far out it extends.
There's that little island out there, is it going to there?
No.
Not going to there?
No,
Not that far.
not that far.
Bridge to start.
Yeah, bridge to start. No, it's not going out that far.
Okay. And what's the difference between pink and blue?
Okay, so the blue, that's phase one, that's gonna be started first. So once that is constructed, they'll be able to use it. The red, that's phase two, and that just really continues that big stone break wall out to give even more protection for the dock. Any other questions?
How long do you think the project will take?
So for the first phase, we're thinking probably 18 to 24 months. There again, it all depends on the weather and, but that's what we're thinking. So it probably won't be, that phase won't be completed until probably 27, which sounds like a long time away. And then we have, phase two to do, but that's just the wall, adding more stone in there. So. Anybody else?
Thank you.